Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video we are going to discuss and understand that how we should apply for the teaching jobs in Dubai under GEMS education so that we have the maximum chances of getting an interview call, right? So let's get right into this. So I'm going to do this on my iPad, right? You can go and do along with me so that it's easy for you to follow these steps, right? So the first thing is you can see your screen. If you're using an Apple device, you can use Safari. If you're using an Android device, you can just have to have a Google. So the moment you open your Google, right, or your Safari, just type in GEMS education, CARREER, careers, and that's it. The moment you type it in, right, you will have this first link which is careers/GEMS education. Tap on this one. This page will open. Now in this you would see at the middle view current vacancies. Okay, just tap on this one, and then at the top right, if you see at the top right, you will see this one. Okay, just tap on sign up and you will have this as a page. Now there are two ways of logging into this. If you already have a LinkedIn account, then you should tap on the first one, which is create with LinkedIn. If you do not have your LinkedIn account, it's totally fine. We can do it. We can log in through our Gmail ID, right? The LinkedIn is pretty easy. You just tap in and everything is already uploaded in the GEMS education folder, right? So there is no discussion for that. I'm going to show you that if you do not have the LinkedIn account, then how to go about it, right? So the first thing is upload your CV. You have to browse, right? Let's say I'm going to browse it, right? I'm going to type in CV, right? And let's say I'm getting this as a CV. CV is uploading. Once your CV is uploaded, then you have to write your first name, you have to write your last name, right? So let me write, for example, it's still uploading, so it's gonna take a little bit of time, maybe hardly 30 to 40 seconds, not more, right? Yeah, okay, now this page has popped up because I have already logged in, right? So I'm not gonna do this. Let me put it like here, okay, right? So because I have already logged in, so it will show up the login page. I cannot sign up, but for you guys, this is the page. Once you have uploaded your CV, right, write your first name, let's say Aditya, write your last name, let's say Sharma, write your email ID, whatever your email ID is going to be, okay? Then you need to use your password, write your birth date, your month, year, your phone number, right? And a mobile number, please make sure, because I'm in UAE, so it's showing the code as this one, +91 for the UAE. For you guys, it will be showing as +91, or depends from which country you are applying for, right? Write your number, select the country, whatever country you are, select the city, right? Right, now, this is the main part. How did you hear about us? Now, in this, how did you hear about us? Please make sure that you select this one, directed by HR department. Now this is what people actually, get a little confused, and the chances will be pretty high. You need to select directed by HR departments. This will give them the notification that this person has been referred by one of the HR department. Okay, right? Okay, then I accept the terms and use and privacy policy, right? And then you're going to apply. Once you're going to apply, right, let me just show you. Once you're going to apply, then what will happen? Just a second. This page will pop up, right? The moment this page will pop up, it will have two columns. One is my CV and another one is cover letters, okay? So let me just go back to this one. Yeah, okay. So under my CV, you need to, so the moment you're going to upload your CV, all the details from your CV will be automatically enrolled into this form, right? So for example, your Gmail ID, your phone number, your experience, your skills, whatever it is mentioned, yeah, the time period of your experience from which year to which year you have worked in which school, right? Your education, right? If there are any certificates, everything we uploaded depends on the format of CV you are using, right? So if you're using a very basic format of the resume, then it will be able to gather all that information. But if you're using a kind of a CV format which is not very traditional, which has a lot of fonts and variations, right, then it becomes a little difficult for the website to take all the data. So in that case, you have to mention and write all the data individually, right? Okay, so let me show you. So we got personal information, right? So in personal information, he was able to get only these two data, which is the name and the date of birth. There is this symbol of pencil. You will see this symbol of pencil. You have, this is for the edit. So once I touch it, right, you have the editing portion. Now you have to type in your title. Let's say it's Mr., first name, middle name, date of birth, place, gender, nationality, marital status, number of dependents. Number of dependent means how many kids you have, okay, right? Similarly, for the contact information, you can do this, right? And then coming to the experience, right? Now when you talk about the comment of experience, you have to mention from the recent to the last one. Okay, so for example, currently I'm working in GEMS education, so I'm gonna write I started my career from this date, from this year, and to present, what's the location, what's the city, right? What's going to be my company school? The company name is GEMS education, right? Okay, what is my company industry? Am I a primary teacher or a middle school teacher, or am I into SLT? SLT means senior leadership team, or if you are an HOD, then it's going to be MLT. So these are the two terms which is used, right? If you are a teacher or a coordinator, then you comes under the category of teacher. But if you are an HOD, head of the department, then you come under the MLT. MLT stands for middle leadership team, right? Okay, if you are the head of the section, let's say we have, or head of the phase, we have primary wing, we have middle school, we have senior section. So if you are head of the section, then you comes under the category of SLT, that is senior leadership team, right? Okay, in SLT it starts from the head of the section, or in some region we call that section, instead of section we call it as phase, right? Primary phase, middle phase, and senior phase. So if you are head of a phase, you are leading a phase, then you are the SLT. And of course beyond that, that is the vice principal, or when we talk about the principal, they all comes under the SLT team, right? Okay, right. And then you can keep on adding these things. So once you have filled this thing, you can tap the plus sign, which means that you have to add more experience, right, till the time you started, right? Now, kindly ensure that there are a lot of candidates who are applying or switching their jobs from maybe an industrial background or from some other field to the teaching. Kindly make sure that you only put your teaching qualification, okay, and teaching experience. There is no point of adding that an irrelevant what we say field. For example, I switched my field from a mechanical engineer, and I was working in a certain core industrial company, and I'm switching to education, right? Okay, and let's say I have 2 years of education, right? And before that, prior to that, I was having my industrial experience, right? Now the moment I'm gonna put my industrial experience in my CV, right? Okay, what will happen? As a recruiter, when I'm reading, I will see that this person was not sure about this teaching profession, right? Okay, so try to understand, I'm not talking about the interview, I'm talking about because before the interview, before the person or the recruiter team knows you, you are being judged based on your resume or your CV, right? So before actually I am getting an idea that this person's teaching was not the first choice. And at this part of the world, we are looking for people who are really passionate about teaching, right? So if I get an impression that this guy was not sure from the very beginning that he has to get into, or she has to get into teaching profession, and just because maybe he or she is not satisfied, or maybe what reason, or maybe the money or the anything would be the reason, and now he or she is switching to teaching profession, give me not a very good perception about the personality of the person, okay, right? So it's better to avoid this thing. Of course, once you get a call, at that time you can explain and come up with a very good reasons. Of course, I'm going to make a pretty good video on that also, what kind of questions they are being asking for the job application and how to address them, right? Okay, if there is a loop, for example there is a break, for example you are switching your field, so what are the ways and in what way you have to address these questions. Okay, so once this is done, the education is done, the experience is done, right, the contact information is done, what really matters here is this section which you can see, skills and subject. Now in this skills and subject, in this part of the world, what really matter is that what are the certification courses you have done, right? Okay, that really plays a very vital role, and child safety. Now there are n number of child safety courses which are available online free. If you want, I can share the link for that. Ensure that you have done at least 2 to 3 child safety courses. Now when we talk about child safety courses, what do we mean by this is that there is a no touch policy. You cannot touch a student, you cannot show that aggressiveness. Even when you are addressing children in the class, you cannot shout, you have to be very polite, you have to be very humble. So these comes under the child safety policy, and they really take this very seriously when we talk about the education system. Okay, so I need you to do at least 2 to 3 free courses, right? Okay, so that at least when at the time of interview you are going to have certain questions, you have some content to speak about. The whole point is just reading through something will not help you. You actually have to watch a video or the courses, because in that you will have some content to speak about when there will be a question related to the child safety, right? Okay, once this is done, you have to put your languages, right? And after this is done, the second portion is going to be the cover letter, right? Okay, so when you open the cover letter, in case of cover letters, you have to upload. So I'm pretty sure that everybody is well versed with ChatGPT, right? Okay, so make a good cover letter. When I say a good cover letter, it should not be lengthy enough. It should be very specific, right? When I say specific, that means it should just give an overall gist of what this person is all about, which always start with how do you think. That means what's your approach for teaching, always start with that thing. Okay, right? Okay, how do you see teaching profession as? Then be specific about what you have done, what are the achievements. If you have coordinated a science competition, if you have coordinated a swimming competition, if you have done any house activity, inter-house competition, inter-school competition, intra-school competition, any role, any organizing skills if you have, please make sure you put it there, right? And at the end, always end the cover letter with your achievement. For example, you are going for a teaching profession and you are a let's say a high school teacher, right? Okay, so in that case you have to mention that from last 3 years and 4 years I have been teaching. Number of students, let's say if you are teaching 2 grades and let's say in 1 grade you have 30, that means every year you are teaching, let's say 60 students of grade 12, right? From last 3 years, let's say it's going to be how much? 180 students. So out of 180 students, how many percentage of students were able to get more than 90% in the boards in your subject? How many were able to get more than 95%? Mention that because of my dedication, right, I was able to achieve 80% of my total batch was able to get more than 90 or 95%. Okay, do mention these things in cover letter. Of course, in between, do mention what are your teaching skills, right? Teaching skills means that I use a lot of AFLs, I use a lot of CFUs, check for understanding. I use a lot of EdTech tools, we have this quizzes, Padlet, all these things, right? Okay, group interaction, right? Collaboration, right? Personalization, individualization, all these things you need to mention. These terms are because currently, as a recruiter, I don't know you, right? Your whole personality, I'm going to judge based on this few words, and the choice of words has to be very specific, right? So that it should not be very exaggerated, because too much of information give me an idea that it doesn't fit, right? So make sure that when you are adding your cover letter or when you're giving some information in your CV or your cover letter, it should do justice from your background. So if you have an experience of, let's say, 8 to 10 years, then you should add as much information as possible. But if you are, let's say, 2 years or 4 years, then you cannot add a lot of information, because then I'll be, you are putting yourself on a spot, because only in 4 years you have done so much. At the time of interview, it's going to be too much of question and you'll be on a spot. And if it is not genuinely done, because ChatGPT gives so much of information, if it's not genuinely done, then the whole purpose will be defeated, right? Okay, so try to understand, the recruiter is not looking for an Einstein. No. He's looking for a person who's passionate for education and who actually have a will to learn. And that's it. Once this things is clear for the recruiter, the pedagogical practices and everything is going to be taken care of in this part of the system. You will be having a 6 months of probation, right? Okay. So in those, everything will be, given to you, the training, you have to go through the training, how actually have to approach for your pedagogical, right, practices. Subject knowledge, of course, you should be well versed with, right? Okay, once this is done, now what we have to do is, right, so then let's say we got into this, right? Okay, now go to the search jobs. Okay, search jobs, you got your search jobs, right? Now in this case, for example, let's say we are looking for a science teacher. Okay, so now you have to go for, let's say, because GEMS is in a different part of the world was also there, so we are looking for UAE, so we are going to filter it to UAE. In UAE, we are looking for, let's say, because in UAE we have 7 Emirates, we are looking for Dubai, right? Please make sure you go for Dubai or Abu Dhabi, right? Okay, because the pay scale is much better, as I discussed in my previous video, right? Okay, how much salary we are looking for, please, if you have not seen it and you have a confusion about what's the salary pay scale, depends on which group, right, you can refer to my video, right? So let's say we are looking for Dubai, we select Dubai, right? And let's say we are looking for a job role, so we are looking for teaching, right? You can look for different, you can look for the receptionist, the PRO, right? Okay, administration, student counselor, anything, right? We are looking for teacher, right? Okay, now the moment you get it, let's see. So I got economics teacher, I got PE teacher, computer science teacher, history, design technology, media studies. I would suggest not to be subject specific. It's better to scroll like this, because sometimes what happens, the moment you select a filter, right? Okay, for example, in industry, right, we can select education or primary or higher education. It's better to keep it all, because sometimes the term, for example, there is a school who needs a science teacher, right? Okay, and they have posted it, right? And in that case, in a hurry, they forget to mention is this high school or middle school or primary school. So in that case, it will, if you select only the primary school or high school, then that vacancy will not be shown. So it's better to keep it generalized, right? It's worth scrolling it, right? Because in that scrolling, you will also get an idea that what kind of subjects and what kind of roles is in high demand, right? Okay, so you have to scroll on, and let's say you see a science teacher. So there is a vacancy for science teacher, August 2025, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to tap on this. So let's view job details, right? Only 9 days ago it has been posted, right? So that means we still have enough time. Go through the job description, right? What are the skills they are looking for? And this will give you an idea that what your cover letter and your CV should look like. Look and go through these skills. Okay, go through these skills. What are the skills they are looking for, and ensure that you have mentioned all these things with some reasons. Okay, when I say reason, that means at the time of interview, and let's say you have mentioned that I have been using a lot of AFL techniques. Okay, good enough. At the time of interview, they're going to ask you, okay, give me a scenario where you felt that your AFL technique worked and didn't work. Now, if you have just mentioned it, they will sense it, and you will be framing, because of course you will be framing answers, and if it's a framed answer, these people will get you, right? So it's better when you're writing whatever techniques or skills that you're mentioning, ensure that you have an example for that. So AFL worked for you, you should know a scenario. I was teaching this topic of motion, and when I saw that the AFL technique really worked because I use this AFL. So AFL stands for assessment for learning. Okay, so there are 3: assessment as learning, assessment for learning, assessment for learning or of learning. Okay, right? Okay, so depend which AFL. So come up with the topic. that this topic I use and this AFL technique I use, and I was able to demonstrate this much progress. 70% of the students were able to do this, and I got the feedback from the student that this is really interesting, we like this AFL technique which you are using. Okay, right? Okay. And also come up with a situation where it didn't work. Right? Okay. So maybe, for example, the AFL technique which you're using is more of a auditory, right? That means it has more of a listening things, right? Okay? And the students in your class were more visually oriented. So in that case, the technique will not work. So come up with this situation that after that, I realized that I need to have a better perspective of the kind of a type of learners in my classes are. So if I have a lot of visual learners, then I use the AFL technique which caters to this skill. If I have more of a auditory or listening learners, then I use this AFL technique. Okay. So just always come up with something, right? So, but if you have already thought through it before getting to the interview, then you have more chances, because then you don't have to frame an answer. You already have an answer. You have already rehearsed it, okay? Visualize it and then speak it out. Okay, right? Okay, right. Okay, once you know this thing, you have to press apply now, right? And as you apply, right, then they will be asking you your primary CV. So for example, complete my primary, because I have not filled up the details. So you have to fill up these details, right? Once you have filled up these details, the moment you apply now, it will automatically get applied. But there will be some questions it might pop up, like for example, for how many years you have been experienced, right? Okay. Or have you been referred by someone, right? Or are you still in Dubai or you are outside, right? Okay. So as I told you that there are two different types of visas, right? One is the local recruitment, right? When we talk about the education visa, and one is the outsource. So basically two visas recruitment is there. One is local recruitment, one is I forgot the term. It's outsource recruitment. That means if I'm recruiting a person who is within UAE, right? So he has a different package, different salary, accommodation, perks and allowances. And a person who is outsourced, that means from a different country, he has a different package. Of course, he has a higher package. So even if you are in UAE and you want to have a better package, it's better not to mention that. Okay, right? So that will be all. That's how you get a job in GEMS Education. Give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, mention some comments if you have certain doubts. If you want me to make a video on a certain topic for any clarification, let me know. Thank you so much. Bye bye.